The dramatic episodes continue the fallout from Vicky and Ross' chaotic wedding celebration, with several Walford residents facing emotional bombshells as the night that changes everything storyline unfolds. While much of the square is still reeling from the wedding drama, Denise Fox is secretly dealing with devastating news of her own after attending a hospital appointment. Yolanda grows increasingly concerned when Denise suddenly disappears from the celebrations, unaware of the life-changing diagnosis she has just received. At the hospital, Denise is left stunned as doctors explain the seriousness of her condition. Struggling to process the news, she later returns to Fox and Hare, where Yolanda finds her visibly shaken. Unable to hold back her emotions any longer, Denise finally breaks down and reveals everything to Yolanda before the pair head back to number 27 for a heartfelt conversation. But despite the terrifying diagnosis, Denise barely gets time to focus on herself before another crisis hits the family. Elsewhere during the wedding fallout, sparks begin flying between Chelsea and Mark as the pair flirt throughout the evening. However, things soon take a dramatic turn when tensions boil over between Mark and Zach during an argument about Vicky. As tempers flare, Lauren is forced to step in and try to calm the situation before things escalate further. Later, Zach and Chelsea share a moment outside away from the chaos, and it looks as though the pair are finally about to kiss. But before anything can happen, the moment is interrupted. Chelsea then heads back to the wedding marquee completely unaware that her life is about to change forever. EastEnders bosses are keeping the exact details tightly under wraps, but whatever unfolds leaves Denise receiving a worrying call from her family, forcing her to rush to Chelsea's side during what's described as her hour of need. The devastating twist appears to completely derail the evening, with Chelsea left needing the support of those closest to her as the aftermath unfolds. Meanwhile, Denise is forced to push her own fears aside to stay strong for her daughter, despite secretly struggling with the emotional weight of her blood cancer diagnosis. Back at number 27, Yolanda continues supporting Denise and even covers for her when family members start asking questions about where she disappeared to earlier in the evening. But as the reality of Denise's condition begins to sink in, Yolanda later encourages her to finally tell the family the truth. Denise, however, still isn't ready to open up, and instead asks Yolanda to head home and get some rest. As the night continues, Denise realizes she can't avoid facing her own situation forever. After spending time supporting Chelsea through the devastating events unfolding around her, Denise finally decides it's time to confide in someone she trusts. She returns home to find Jack, and tells him the heartbreaking truth about her blood cancer diagnosis. The powerful plot is expected to play a huge role in upcoming episodes as Denise attempts to balance her own health fears, while continuing to support her family through crisis after crisis. Viewers have already seen Denise struggling in recent weeks, with fans growing increasingly concerned that something serious was wrong long before her diagnosis was confirmed. Now, with Chelsea's life also thrown into turmoil, the Fox family are facing one of their hardest periods yet. EastEnders. Chelsea Fox had always believed she could handle chaos. In Walford, chaos was normal, something you learned to dodge, survive, even laugh about when the dust settled. But nothing in Chelsea Fox's life had ever prepared her for a day like this. The kind that doesn't just shake your world, but shatters it into pieces too small to put back together. It started quietly, almost cruelly so. The morning sun slipped through the curtains of her flat, painting soft lines across the floor. For a moment, everything felt ordinary. Her phone buzzed on the table, a missed call from a number she didn't recognize. She ignored it. Another problem for later, she thought. That was Chelsea's way. File it away, deal with it when it explodes. She had no idea everything was already exploding. Downstairs, the square was already awake. Life in Albert Square never truly slept. Traders shouted near the market stalls, someone argued by the cafe, and a distant siren reminded everyone that peace here was always temporary. Chelsea pulled her coat tighter and walked out, heels clicking sharply against the pavement. She had plans. Meet someone, settle something, keep control of a situation that had been slipping through her fingers for weeks. She didn't notice the way people looked at her. The quick glances. The whispers that stopped when she passed. Something was wrong. At the cafe, Denise sat alone in a corner booth, stirring her tea without drinking it. When Chelsea entered, Denise looked up, but didn't smile. That alone should have warned her. "You've heard?" Denise asked softly. "Heard what?" Chelsea replied, already defensive. Denise hesitated. Chelsea, it's about Jordan. The name hit like a punch she didn't see coming. Jordan. For a second, Chelsea's mind refused to process it. Not now. Not again. Not after everything she had built to move forward. What about him? She asked, voice sharper than she intended. Denise's eyes dropped. There's been an incident. Serious. Police were called last night. Chelsea felt the room tilt slightly. She grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. No, she said quickly. No, he's fine. He has to be fine. But Denise's silence told a different story. And just like that, something inside Chelsea cracked open. By midday, the square had fully turned. News travels fast in Walford. Faster than truth, faster than sense, and often more dangerous than both. Chelsea barely made it 10 steps outside the cafe before she felt the weight of it. Stares, murmurs, half-finished sentences. Heard about Chelsea's boy. Never saw it coming. Police were there all night. She pushed through it, heart pounding, refusing to listen. At the station, the air smelled like bleach and bad decisions. A uniformed officer met her at reception, his expression carefully neutral in the way that meant nothing good ever followed. Miss Fox, he said, we need to talk about your son. My son is a child, she snapped automatically, then paused. What's happened? The officer glanced down at a file. There's been an altercation involving Jordan. He's been taken into custody for questioning. It didn't belong in her life. Not for her son. Not for her family. That's impossible, Chelsea said, almost laughing. There must be a mistake. But the officer didn't correct her. He didn't need to. He just slid a chair out for her. And suddenly Chelsea wasn't standing anymore. She was falling. The interrogation room was too bright. That was the first thing she noticed when they finally let her see him. Jordan sat there, younger than he looked in her mind now, even though he was growing into a version of himself she didn't fully recognize anymore. His hoodie was creased, his eyes tired. When he saw her, something flickered: relief, fear, guilt. Maybe all three. Mom, he said quietly. Chelsea's heart twisted. What have you done? She whispered. He didn't answer straight away. And that silence said more than any confession ever could. By evening, the truth began to unfold in fragments. A fight. A knife. Someone injured badly. A name Chelsea didn't recognize at first, then slowly did, like a memory turning sharp. A boy from the square. Someone connected. Someone who shouldn't have been involved with Jordan at all, yet somehow was. Chelsea felt sick listening to it. Each detail was another blow. But the worst part wasn't the crime. It was realizing how long it had been building. The missed signs. The late nights. The anger he hid behind excuses. The way he stopped looking at her properly, as if she had already left him behind. And she had. That was the truth she couldn't avoid anymore. By the time she left the station, night had fallen over Walford. The square looked different in the dark. Quieter but heavier, like it was holding its breath. She walked without direction, past familiar places that suddenly felt strange, unwelcoming. The Queen Vic glowed warmly in the distance, laughter spilling out of its doors, life continuing as if nothing had happened. But for Chelsea, everything had happened. She stopped near the bench by the playground. Empty now. Silent swings moving slightly in the wind. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But she did. Hello. A pause. Then a voice she didn't expect. We need to talk about Jordan's bail hearing, the solicitor said. There's a chance this could escalate further than you think. Chelsea closed her eyes. Further than this? What did that even mean now? The next morning brought no relief. Only more damage. News had spread fully now. The square didn't whisper anymore. It judged openly. People crossed the street to avoid her. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Even familiar faces looked at her differently, as if she had become something separate from them. Denise tried to reach her again, but Chelsea didn't answer. How could she? What do you say to someone when your entire life has turned into a headline you can't escape? At home, Chelsea finally broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly, sitting on the edge of her bed with her coat still on, staring at nothing while her phone lit up again and again. Jordan. Voicemails. Missed calls. She didn't listen. Not yet. because listening would make it real in a way she wasn't ready to survive. The bail hearing came faster than she expected. The courtroom felt colder than the station, colder than the square, colder than anything she had ever known. Jordan stood beside his solicitor, looking smaller than he had in her memory. When the magistrate spoke, words like risk, incident, community safety filled the air like smoke. Chelsea barely heard any of it. She was watching her son, the boy she had raised, the boy she had tried to protect from everything Walford could throw at him. And yet somehow it had still gotten in. The decision came down like a hammer. Denied bail. Remanded. Chelsea didn't move at first. Didn't breathe. Didn't react. Jordan turned toward her. "Mom," he started. But he didn't finish. Because Chelsea couldn't answer him. Not because she didn't want to. Because she didn't know how to keep standing in a world where everything she built had collapsed at once. Outside the courthouse, the air felt too sharp. The solicitor spoke again, explaining next steps, hearings, timelines, but Chelsea only caught pieces. Serious charges. You'll need to prepare. Could be a long process. A long process. As if this was something that could be managed with time. When she finally looked up, the square felt miles away, even though she knew she would have to return to it. Everything she had tried to control, her relationships, her reputation, her family, had slipped beyond her reach. And for the first time, Chelsea Fox understood something she had always refused to accept. In Walford, you don't escape consequences. You just wait for them to arrive. And when they do, they take everything. That night, Chelsea stood alone by her window. The square below carried on as if nothing had changed. But her world had ended. Not with noise. Not with violence. But with silence. And somewhere in that silence, she finally let herself feel it fully. Not just fear, not just shock, but the unbearable truth. Chelsea Fox's entire world had collapsed, and there was no version of tomorrow where it simply went back to normal again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to EastEnders Spoilers Official.